This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Hello, America, and welcome to the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach. Beach Talk Radio. Here are your hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
And, thank you very much. Thank you. Don't just applauding outside in the parking lot. You're allowed to come in, don't you? You're allowed inside. Welcome to Wahoo Willie's post-Helene Sunday. Everybody got through the storm okay, hopefully, and is cleaning up now. And we appreciate you guys coming out to the show. We have a lot going on today. We're going to chat with the mayor. We're going to go to Nervous Nelly's for a Green Bay Packer Minnesota Vikings game at 1 o'clock. And then I understand there's a muckety-muck thing going on in Times Square at 1:30. Am I allowed to, I guess I'm allowed to say at 1:30, Senator Rick Scott will be in Times Square. Sheriff Carmine Marcino will be in Times Square. And I think they're having a press conference. I don't know what it's about, but.
Did they invite you?
It kind of in a roundabout way did get an invitation. So
I know that's painful for you.
No, I don't have any connection with Senator Rick Scott. I do have kind of a connection with Congressman Donalds, but I mean, they're into the TV stations. They want to be seen on TV.
Somebody grab a tissue for Eddie. He's gonna start shedding a tear.
That's all right. That's all right. I have 107,722 fans and followers. I don't need Senator Rick Scott.
It
okay.
took 2 minutes. It took
you should
2
have saw
minutes.
Last night, or I don't remember what night it was anymore, but the number of followers, we went from 97,000 to 107,000 from the minute before the storm to after the storm, which I think just really shows how much people care about Fort Myers Beach. And they wanted to see the storm coverage. They wanted to see the videos from the storm. And that's why I don't know how many people are real. They could be all robots for all I know, but we did a bike ride of the island the morning right after the storm, which showed a bunch of sand that had blown up from the beach onto Estero Boulevard in kind of chunks where there weren't any buildings or houses to block it. And then today I did the same thing and it was all gone. And, there's just little pockets of sand here and there. Well,
everybody's working hard.
Yeah, they're all out there.
The county, yeah.
The town working in Times Square and the North End, and then the county, which owns Estero Boulevard. And
thanks again to the town employees for helping me with the wheelbarrow because you left me hanging. So.
I had to go talk to my good buddy Carmine when I saw him over there. And
the two of you, and I'm like,
all right. I love the sheriff's department, and I love the sheriff. But when he took the squeegee and started to squeegee the sidewalk, I thought, well, what the hell is he doing? He's going to get hurt. Get that squeegee away from him. He's going to get injured. We need him out there. I mean, what was he doing? Did he do the whole sidewalk? Is he still out there now? Or
Simply the best.
Yeah, no, that was interesting. And it was nice to see all those deputies down there. And they were down the night before with the swamp buggy, and they're rescuing people in the boat. So it was great to see everybody down here. And I ran into your buddy this morning. Did you see it? No. Did you see me on the video? I
don't watch your videos.
Commissioner Ray Sandelli was driving down Estero Boulevard. He pulled over and I did an interview with him. You know where he was on his way to go?
Where?
To the Island Pancake House to buy some pancakes and have breakfast.
We got to have him on.
Yeah, we're going to have him on. We tried to have him on one date, but he's going to the Bluebirds thing or the Firebirds thing. What do you call it? The Thunderbirds thing. Sorry. Is he still flying planes? Is he still fly the planes? But in November, he'll be retired from the county commission, and then David Malacca will take over, and we're going to have him on one more time. But we have to coordinate it around your trip to Africa.
That's right.
So, because we want to make sure you're here, and the mayor is going to co-host that. But I did want to thank a few people before. Go ahead. You go first.
I just want to tell you that. Do you see my new sunglasses, right? So I stopped this morning on the way down here to pick up sunglasses, and I went into the store, and the woman behind the counter said, "Oh, are you Kim, Ed's wife?" And I was like, "Yes." How could you tell? Because I had the shirt on coming here. And she said, "I want to buy your glasses." And I said, "You don't have to do that. You work here." She said, "Nope."
Where was this?
It was up at the dollar store there. And so
Do you guys notice? Did you guys notice what she did? It was up at the dollar store there, so she could show off her guns.
No.
Very nice.
No,
very nice. Not bad for 60. Ladies and gentlemen, Jorge Barrera. Big hand for Jorge. No applause for Jorge. Go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
So, anyways, she said, yes, my husband listens to the show all the time. And I said, oh, yeah, who's your husband? And she said, it's Roberto, the cook at Wahoo Willie's.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. So, and the food was delicious today.
All of the support is great, but those gestures are just I was so taken aback. So I got 2 pairs of sunglasses and I'm happy.
And you got your fan that Tiffany. Megan gave you last weekend, the first lady.
Megan, my fangirl gave me.
Fangirl. Literal fangirl.
Yeah.
All right, let me introduce the mayor. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to thank a few people. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for your mayor, Dan Allers. We want to thank Alan Lindbergh, who bought us 5 coffees.
Everybody's too distracted to clap this morning.
Samantha Cerace, who bought us a coffee.
No, I mean the here.
Susan Thanasow, who bought us 5 coffees. We got a new member, a monthly member. People, when you buy coffees, we want to thank you. So please type in your name. Like somebody bought us 5 coffees from Michigan, but didn't put their name in, so it just says someone, so we can't thank them.
Put water in it.
Same thing with somebody bought us 10 coffees. Rebecca Barker bought us 5 coffees this morning, and you saw before the show started, Carol Roca bought us 5 coffees. And for those new folks, Steve and Lori bought us 3 coffees. Those are all from Mark and Sally bought 5. Those are all from the right around this morning. We appreciate you guys supporting the show. And for those thousands and thousands of new followers that we have, the coffee thing is like a gimmick. Oh, look at Dan knows how to operate the machinery. The coffee thing.
He's got something he wants to say now.
No.
The coffee thing is a gimmick where people support the show by buying 5 coffees or 1 coffee. It's $5 per coffee. It's a safe and secure website, and you can donate. Not donate. We're not going to use that word because we don't want to confuse people. That money goes right in our pocket. It's crystal clear. It's how we pay the bills. It's how we buy Kim's hairspray. It's how we buy my nut butter. So all of that money is money that supports the show. So you can go on buy kimandedcoffee.com, and that's where the money comes from. So goes to. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dan, go ahead. What did you want to say?
I wasn't going to say anything. I just thought I'd turn it on before you forgot.
Yeah. It is so hot today. Like today, it was like 92 degrees right when we got up in the morning. And I'm just sweating like you were sweating that one week.
Have some fun.
No, it's almost an eerie reminder, Ian, right after Ian, it was the same thing for that first week. It was so humid and so hot.
It was brutal.
And then you're trying to do all the work you have to do. And it was miserable. It is miserable.
Let's get right down to it. We got something we didn't expect. I think they under predicted the storm surge, but I mean it's all a crapshoot. Thank goodness that storm didn't hit us head on. It would have been devastating. It's devastating up in the Big Bend area and North Carolina, and other states are getting hammered from the storm. But I'm just so grateful it didn't hit Fort Myers Beach, but it kind of did.
Yeah, that storm was a monster. I don't know that they underestimated. I think we were probably at the high end of that 3 to 6 foot estimation. So, I mean, we were, I think, within the range. Maybe a couple places on the island got a little bit more than that, but we were hoping for the best in that, but got the worst. The amount of sand, obviously, that came out onto the island was a lot. Most people saw 2 to 3 feet of water inside their house that were on canals. We certainly didn't need that. 4 storms within 2 years that people have had to clean up after. We need Mother Nature to give us a break.
Yeah.
No kidding. And I think it goes to the point about how big the storm was.
It was massive.
You have to take, everybody's still learn, you learn every time. Like you have to take into account that even if it's 160 miles off the coast, when it's that big, and for us, it wasn't as much rain either. It was really a wind event this time too.
What was every storm is so different. You see the videos now coming out of Tennessee and North Carolina,
and the water
and the flooding and the things that are happening up there. It just shows you how widespread that thing was and how much different it was than Ian. Ian was very powerful. I mean, it took buildings away. This maybe took some buildings away, but it did a lot more damage with the flood and the wind.
Yeah.
And, left some buildings standing with nothing inside it. But we were fortunate. We obviously feel for the people to the north of us who got the more devastating blow than we did. But when you're in a recovery mode like we're still in, every little bit sets you back. And
and especially
this really set it back too.
The beach renourishment folks have to get the barge out of the way. The pipe was still out there.
That's right. So they moved the barge
twice now.
Yeah, they pulled the barge in. They brought the sand pipe up onto the beach and filled it with sand to hopefully keep it from going anywhere. From all aspects, it looks like what has been renourished held up fairly well.
Okay, that was my question.
So it seems to be working. The berm, what is left of the berm, did what
is there something left?
It did what it was meant to do. It
Yeah.
kept some of the water back, not all of it. Again, like I said after Debbie and after Adelia, when you don't have the berm in front of your property, all you're doing is creating a funnel. And it funnels that water, and then it erodes the berm from the backside, and all that sand ends up in everybody's yard and garages and basements, and it's a mess.
The berm on the south end, when I was out there this morning, it looked like it was still intact. So maybe it was harder for the storm surge to. There's so much beach on the south end.
Well,
to
it's
make
the
it
way
up.
the wind too. The way the wind was kind of southeast, and then it came straight out of the south as it went past us, and we were on that dirty side of the storm. So when it's coming straight out of the south, the north end of the island that curves towards Sanibel here really takes the brunt of it when the wind's coming from that direction. So every storm's a little bit, everyone's a little bit different.
And
we're just thankful. Think if we would have gotten rain. I mean, we were all
Crazy.
it was sunny like this. If we had had 7 inches of rain, like they were, 2 to 5 inches of rain that they were predicting, it would have been much worse.
Yeah, if we had yesterday's rain during the storm, yesterday's rain just made it worse for people to get around because Crescent Street just
flooded.
It turned everything into a mud. It turned everything into a mud pit. We've seen a lot of very high tides lately. So when the water is sitting at the top of the seawall, if it rains, it's got nowhere to go. It just has nowhere to drain. So
is the south end higher than the north end?
Honestly, I don't know. The elevations change. There are some parts of the island that are a little bit higher, and then it dips down, and then it comes back up. But you can really kind of tell on Estero Boulevard the areas that are much lower or allow things to come through the beach berm and get onto Estero Boulevard, because you'll go a mile of not really having a lot, and then all of a sudden it was 3 feet of.
Yeah, I watched Matt the vet pretty much the whole time. I was flipping back and forth, but I watched Matt. I think he one of the most respectable news or meteorologists in town.
Yeah, and
I'm pretty sure he said it was going to be like a Debbie. It was worse than that.
I think everybody was expecting it to be a Debbie, but we were dealing with high. I think when the surge came in, the surge kind of hung around for a long time. And then when tides were high, but they went down, the surge kept it high.
Yes.
But then it did the opposite as the tide was going down, or as the surge came in, as the surge was going out, the tide came in. So it kind of balanced itself all day. We were expecting it to basically stay the same, maybe go up a little bit and then go back down. But I can't tell you the amount of people that reached out that were just kind of that sigh of relief when you could see where the water was starting to recede a little bit, even though it was only a few inches. You're like, okay, now maybe we can try to get an hour's worth of sleep.
And it does come down to inches, for a lot of
it certainly does
damage versus none,
even when you get a little bit of water in your house, it's still a lot of work. I mean, you've got to dry a lot of things out. You've got baseboard issues. I mean, it's a lot of work.
One of the things that I'm going to ask you what you learned, but one of the things that I learned in a storm like this is that porta potties become projectiles, and those things were not tied down. There was one that was stuck up against my yeah. So I mean, how do you what do you think you learned from this one that you would change if there is a next one?
The number one thing, and I just talked to Andy about this yesterday, we need better equipment. As a town, we need better equipment. We had tractors out there. I was out there on a tractor at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I saw you.
Because of the tires that you need to have to be able to drive on the beach, made that big fancy tractor useless for what we needed it for. It's great for raking the beach, but it's horrible picking up very heavy, dense sand. We need better equipment. Had we had the equipment that we need, and unfortunately it's gotten to the point where we don't know. 4 storms in 2 years warrants, to me, getting good equipment. Had we had the right equipment between Andy, Jeff, and I, and when staff was coming in, we could have had a path cleared on Estero Boulevard to not have to route people through before the county came in and helped, and ICS and Andrew Site Work and all those guys came in to help us. the three of us could have been on machines and got a path at least through for first responders if they needed it, but we don't have the equipment to do it.
Now,
So
when you,
that's the biggest thing I learned.
When you have to have these outside companies come in, like ICS and whatever the name of the other company is, where does that money come from?
Well, it'll all be it's because it's a state of emergency. It all goes through the FEMA process, just like
so FEMA will pay for that.
We've got 4 state of emergencies right now because of the 4 storms. So anything that happened from this storm falls under that state of emergency.
No, not the town state of emergency. The governors.
The governors.
Okay.
Yeah. So the town staff, have to keep track of each tally of what goes for this storm, what goes for that storm.
It's very detailed. You have to, like Joe, our building official, was out the very next day. He and another staff member, they were going street by street, documenting the flood level, the height for each one, so that you have all. I mean, it's very, very detailed at what you have to do.
That's another thing. If these like the equipment that you need another Joe.
Building officials don't fall out of trees.
not ones like him.
Equipment, but yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to ask is, you see all these piles of sand now. They're off Estero Boulevard. They're out of Times Square. Although Times Square is a big lake right now, there's standing water there. Would you have to pump that out somehow? Or is it just wind up going back in the Gulf?
Well, some of it's coming from the sand as the sand dries out. Some of it's sitting there. High tides, there's no drainage. The water's not going to go anywhere. So it's a little bit of common everything. The sand will get sifted and put back out on the beach. It will get sifted.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, the county looked like it was already spreading it out on the other side of the seawall. Well, of the park. If your sand is getting sifted.
Well, they inspect it, and if it doesn't need to be, this doesn't have the debris like Ian did.
Sure.
Obviously, there was all kinds of stuff. This is just fresh sand that.
But there was road construction going on Estero right on the other side of the park. You would think there'd be some chunks of road.
There could be, but
but there's
after every storm, you got to make sure you're wearing your shoes out on the beach.
Sure. Now, what I thought was interesting, and I don't know why, maybe it's not interesting, is on there's the seawall in the county's park. Is that Crescent? I get the parks confused. All right, Crescent Park.
Yes, Crescent is between Margaritaville and Times Square.
So the seawall in Crescent Park, it looked like the sand was mostly from the seawall. You could see the seawall where you couldn't see it before was sucked out, and not so much in the middle of Crescent. Is that? I mean, I'm asking you like you're a sand engineer, but it just looked weird to me.
Well, the seawall probably protected a lot of the wash up. And then once it got over the seawall, I'm no expert, but what it looks like is it just pulled away from the seawall and pushed that sand out. There's probably a 2-foot drop from that seawall.
Yeah.
But then it comes back up and levels off. We were there'll be sand, most of the sand will probably go back. There was so much sand. Finding places to store it was difficult. We were storing it in Wasted Away parking lot, Newton Park. Any place we had available, we could put the sand without having to drive all the way off the island or all the way to the south end to try to find a place to store it.
Did that sand come from different areas down to the Times Square area, or is it mostly from that?
Everything you saw at Wasted Away in Times Square came from just that corner.
Wow.
That's there was one video
and some of North Estero.
Yeah.
But do you think when the beach renourishment is done in that area, that'll mitigate some of that?
I think it will. There's a combination of things happening. It's not things that aren't renourished yet. And then there's places like on North Estero, I'll just use that as a perfect example, where there's no buildings and you get heavy winds.
Yeah.
You see the dry sand blowing across. It creates like a sand drift, right? Even though they have a silt fence up, it still creates that sand berm. Anybody that knows been around the Midwest, when the snow blows, it builds up, right? Yeah. Same thing, but it doesn't have anything there to protect that sand from coming out on Estero Boulevard, and it just takes everything with it. So North Estero was probably, and has been after the last couple of storms, the worst part of Estero Boulevard, simply because of the amount of buildings that aren't there.
Yep. Yeah, they were out there yesterday. Probably the town. That's the town's
so
part
we
of
had,
Estero.
we had, yeah. So we had a lot of good partners help. Obviously, Andy had good conversations with Dave Harner from the county. I spoke to the commissioners, like, here's what we think we need. They were ready to go. They were down here right at 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday. We contract, because we're already under contract with ICS and we're under contract with Andrew Site Work. We pivoted and took their resources and put it to cleaning up Estero Boulevard. We knew that we had to get that clean for many reasons. People needed to get onto the island to be able to take care of their houses. Businesses need to come on to take care of their stuff. Obviously songwriters, but that wasn't the top priority.
Sure.
Right. But it was getting people back to their house. So it was trying to mitigate as much as we could the messaging and getting out there that the bridges aren't closed. People are coming. Another thing that was very difficult is trying to take the calculated risk of what do you close it down for just people with the parking passes, and then people that aren't here, they're trying to get their contractors on to clean out their houses. and the traffic would have been the traffic because the South Bridge was closed anyway. So whether you had your parking pass or you didn't, you were going to be sitting in traffic to get on the island until they could check your pass. And if you didn't have it, then you're going to get sent away. So we took a calculated risk, and we let people on the island, and we urged people the first day to make sure that if you didn't have to be here, please give us some space. Not so everybody listened.
Let's talk about yesterday's message.
Let's get it out of the way.
Yeah, let's talk about yesterday's message.
As
you brought it up.
Said the
you
word
brought
message,
it up.
I was
knew,
like,
if I didn't do it, he was going to do it anyway.
Well, yeah, it's a fair question because I think I saw the town post that said stay off the island. I was basically stay off the island. We don't want you to come to the island.
Well, it was a repeat message of Friday. You're making it a little more dramatic, Ed.
I'm not making
it do that.
I'm not making it dramatic. You asked people to stay off the island on Saturday.
We encouraged you, if you didn't need to be here, please don't come.
That's not what the post said. That's what you say, which is true. You went on, did some Facebook. How many followers you have? You went on Facebook I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And you tried to soften the blow. You did because the post was stay off the island, which I get. You want to be able to clean up, but they should have canceled the Songwriters Festival then. I mean, that was really the only thing that was going on other than businesses were trying to get open.
Yeah.
And then you tried to make it what it should have been from the beginning. And that was that, we need some space to clean up. And if you can avoid it, please avoid it. But it just didn't come out right.
No, I understand. And that's fine. It's going to be what it is. You're going to have hiccups. If that's the worst hiccup we had along the road, I can take that and smile and say it was a success. Yes, we understand Songwriters Fest was going on. As a business owner that needed this weekend, it wasn't easy to have to cancel everybody's reservation and return thousands of dollars. I completely understand it as a business owner, but you have to remember we also have residents who, for the fourth time, are cleaning out their house and throwing away belongings that they've bought 3 times now, and they're putting it out on the curb. And when you're going down the side streets and you're seeing dishwashers and couches and beds and clothing and everything that these people have had to replace 3 times now, Songwriters wasn't top of the list, right? And I say that with all due respect because the sooner we can get this cleaned up, the sooner we can, like today, you'll see that post. I don't know if it was on auto send or what, but it went out again this morning. A business owner came up to me and said, hey, this came out. I talked to Andy. It was taken down. The right message is out there now, which is if you're coming to the island, great. Just be careful and be safe. That's it. Right. We've gotten a good majority of the cleanup done on Estero Boulevard. People will be able to pass. Much of the equipment is gone today that won't be needed to clean up. So if you're coming, great. We want you to support the businesses. We want the residents to be able to go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get what they need to keep working on their properties. But just be safe because there's still sand. It's still muddy. It's still things that you could slip. They always talk about slips, trips, and falls, right?
Yep.
That's the thing.
Well, he almost wiped out the other. Was it Friday? I don't know.
I'll have to save that story. I want him to finish on this because I think it's important that it was miscommunicated yesterday, and that maybe next time it's going to be different or maybe there hopefully will never be a next time.
But you want people to come down, but not be to support the businesses.
Okay,
let me finish. Not come down to Rubberneck.
Okay,
go up the side things.
Well, here's how it goes. These situations, what you learn is there's no win. You could close the bridge down to just residents with parking passes, and the residents that aren't here are going to be extremely upset because their friends or family can't get on to open up their property because they can't get a flight down here, or they can't get somebody to come and help clean up. So you don't let them on the island, they're going to be upset. If you let them on the island and the contractors are trying to rebuild these condos can't get on the island who are not affecting anyone, then they're going to be. So you have to do what you can do. And then once you decide and make a decision, okay, we're going to let people on, but we're going to encourage you not to come unless you don't have to. Then people get upset because they're sitting in traffic. Right. So, and why didn't you implement the parking or the beach passes? So there's really not a win-win for everybody. Well, you just have to literally, and I hate this, it is a calculated risk. You have to look at it, make a decision, and once you make the decision, you live with it. And like I said on my post yesterday, if people have a problem with it, call me directly. 239-284-5224. Give me a call. I'll be more than happy to talk to you and explain to you why we made those decisions. Nobody's ever going to be happy about it, but
I think the main thing that the town was trying to avoid that they didn't just come out and say is, please don't come down to stick your camera out the door and take pictures.
Right.
That's really what you wanted to tell people. You wanted people to come
Well-
to the businesses. You wanted the residents to get back home, but it's the jackasses that just come down and they slow down traffic with their camera out the window because they've never seen a pile of sand in their life before.
Well, here,
Thank you.
well,
Thank you. I'll be here all week and I'm running for mayor.
Well, we
Right.
got
Not here though.
we
Well,
got
because I don't live
behind-
here.
We got behind somebody, and then you were like, that
Because I got
was
my
looky
truck has
looing,
everything on it,
and I'm like, don't beep.
Well,
But it was clear that they were,
so we
you
had,
know, gawking
what was
around.
frustrating is it's 5 o'clock in the morning. Andy and I and Jeff are out there. We're trying to get those big, heavy concrete benches out of Estero Boulevard.
Yeah.
So that we knew FDOT was on the way. We knew everybody was on their way down, but we're trying to get things out of the way to make it easier for them to be able to start to open their path up.
Mhm.
And here comes vehicle after vehicle after vehicle that are clearly construction workers
Yeah.
that were coming to just go
Work
to
on houses.
right?
Yeah.
And you're maybe there were houses that were destroyed, or there are houses that are being built, or they're condos, we don't know, but they're trying to drive through and they can't get through because of the sand. And if
Yeah.
so one guy comes, I won't say the business, but there was a business around here where the gentlemen were coming in their truck, a baby truck, and
So
They-
a company with a baby truck.
so they drive past us before we could catch them, and they pull up in front of Crescent Park, and as soon as the sun starts coming up, their vehicle sinks in the sand, and now they're stuck.
Oh,
So now you've
geez.
just added to the problem that we're trying to not.
Right.
So
Yeah.
those are the kind of things, and that's why at the beginning of the morning, LCSO was kind of keeping people at bay, which, the phone started ringing at 5:30. I heard the bridge is closed. I didn't hear any of the bridge collapse this time, which is great. But I mean, it's you start hearing those things, and when you're trying to, there's, as I was telling you before the show,
Right.
that there's so many things that are going on
Yeah.
at one time. When a social media post goes out that maybe you weren't able to catch, things happen. All you can do is correct it
Right.
and move on. And
Right.
that's
And
what
then
we do.
yesterday or Friday, I lose the days when these
Oh, yeah.
storms come through.
Yeah.
The LCSO did stop people down at the 7-Eleven at the Pine Ridge because the debris was still on the road. They were trying to get the road cleaned off.
San Carlos was flooded
Yeah.
too, so it wasn't
Yeah.
safe to try to. If you saw the video of Lee County Sheriff's
Yes.
Office trying to get through San
Yes,
Carlos with
that
with their
was-
swamp buggy, I mean,
Yeah.
it's going over the hood of their 250.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're coming through in a little BMW sports
Right.
car.
Oh, quite a few cars
you're-
got stuck in
or
the
a
water.
Yeah.
We saw a motorcycle
Yeah.
on Thursday afternoon as the water's coming across the
Oh,
Steel
yeah, I
Boulevard.
saw that too.
Didn't you?
We
Yeah.
went to Megan and I went to the north end of the island, and I'm not a worrier. Megan's the worrier of the family. Which
Yeah,
is
you
great.
just gave out your phone number and her head blew up.
yeah.
And you gave out your cell phone number.
So
Is that your number, Megan, or his?
so she's like, we need to get back home. We need to get back home. And, the tide was starting to come in and the surge was starting to come in. So by the time we turned around and started heading back, it was when we went down, it wasn't on Estero Boulevard. And as we were coming back, it was, a foot and a half onto Estero Boulevard by that point. And it was very
Here
quick.
comes the pool water.
So as we're coming past Junkanoo, we see about 3 or 4 blocks up, there's a motorcycle, a Harley, sitting sideways in the middle of Estero Boulevard where the water's halfway up the engine.
Was there a man on the bike
There was
or
a
he
man on the
abandoned
bike.
it?
No, he was a man on the bike. So we thought he'd stalled out. So, I'm in the truck and, we're driving as close to the shoulder as we can because we know that's the highest point because it goes down in the center
Yeah.
to the drain. So he's stuck in the center of the drain, and behind us are 2 or 3 small trucks trying to go through the middle.
He
and the
wanted
water
to say it.
water's coming over the hood of and they're driving right for this guy. So we finally, as we're getting closer, he was able to get the motorcycle started because I could see the headlight come on, and he's fighting hard to try to get it turned around to get back. So he ends up getting it and under power, and he gets it up onto the sidewalk, and he's coming towards us. So I pull over and stop, and these guys are zinging through at 20 miles an hour, like they're in a hurry to get somewhere. I don't know, but anyway,
pictures.
they're construction workers. So we're pulled off to the side, and he pulls up next to us, and the look on his face, he was white as a ghost. He had a hat on. He was an older gentleman, and you could tell he was shaking because he was having a hard time holding the bike up. And he's on the sidewalk now, which is dry, and we're like, "You're okay? Are you okay?" And he looks right at us, and he goes, "F that, F that." F that. He kept just saying, F that. F
Did
that
he say
S,
just
F
the word
that,
or did he
F
use
oh,
the
no,
full
he used the
words?
full
I
phrase.
got you.
F that S, F that S. He kept saying, and then all of a sudden he revs it up like Harley riders do. Boom, boom, boom. Down he goes.
Wow.
Down the
Down the
sidewalk?
sidewalk, yeah.
I bet you let them slide on that one.
You gotta
no motorized vehicles on the sidewalk. Damn it!
All right.
Kim, it's like marriage. You got to pick your battles.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So, where were we? Oh, I was going to talk about the videos that I was taking. I want to thank Margaritaville again for putting us up. Putting us up on the 4th floor so that we were able to cover all the storm from the beginning to the end, the day after, the day before, and there was a moment where the storm came in on Thursday night. Was it Thursday night?
Thursday night, yeah.
And then you saw the storm surge. I mean, it was a sunny day, then it was a rainy day, then it was a windy day, then the sun came out. It was totally strange. But at night, the storm surge, when it came over Times Square, I went out the back door of Margaritaville, and it was up to the top steps. I mean, that place was filled with water, and you could see it rushing almost to the base of the bridge, and then obviously down Old San Carlos. And there was one time where I was walking around Times Square, and I thought, for the first time ever, I thought my life is in danger. The current was so strong. And I know we walked those sidewalks so many times. You know where the sidewalks are after a while. But when it's kind of dark and there's a current like that's no joke.
No.
That current coming out of the Gulf is even that far away. It's some serious flow.
Yeah,
and
when
even with that much water, that wasn't
it was
like
only up to my knees.
Right,
it wasn't like, but once you get down, if it takes you down,
you're
you don't know what you're going to get slammed against.
Well, and you don't know what's floating underneath.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, right, 5 o'clock in the morning when we were down at the base of the bridge, there's a guy walking around with no shoes on.
I saw plenty of that on the video.
And he's got his phone and he's taking video and he's walking around with no shoes on. It's like, this is what happens.
Yeah.
You survive the storm and then you die because of stupidity.
Yeah.
Well,
let's
or
talk
you
about,
need a tetanus shot for sure.
There was 2 people, you might have saw it on the video if you watched it. There was 2 people with their dog in Times Square, and they were going back and forth in the water when the storm surge started to come out, and the dog was having the time of its life. And I'm like, that dog can go under.
There were
like if Carmine saw that, those 2 would be arrested for
this is
dog abuse.
No joke. On Thursday afternoon, about 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock ish, 2 jet skis were riding up and down the back bay.
On the water or on the road?
On the water.
Sorry.
They were on the Gulf side.
So
they just came right up.
They came around Matanzas Point and they came down and went down the back bay.
So there were those 2 guys with the dog. So you guys put some of these barriers in Times Square to try and I guess block the sand or the water. It was a nice try, but it was too strong. So the barrier's laying down in Times Square. Now one of the dudes gets on it and he thinks like he's going to row himself through the water. I mean, they're having fun. This is what they think they're doing. So
they're not understanding that there's nobody going to help.
They're only dumbasses on Fort Myers Beach, or they're dumbasses in other parts of the country.
My guess is these people were probably not from the beach, because I don't know how many people we had to turn away at 5:30 in the morning that were coming down trying to pull into the parking lot right next to Crescent Park, Terry Prasad's parking lot, trying to pull in there just to
take pictures. It was going on all night.
And then they were like visibly, and they were angry. They were yelling at us. And Frankie was down there. So we just let Frankie handle it.
Oh, good. Yeah. He doesn't mess around. So
I think that's what people don't realize. Well, maybe they do and they don't care. It's like, if you do that and you get pulled out to sea or you get hurt, no one's coming for you at that time.
Well, it was a nightmare having to route traffic down through Crescent and get people onto the island. In the south end of the island being closed, we knew we had to get that at least a pathway through Estero Boulevard to be able to. I mean, by 6 o'clock in the morning, we hadn't heard sirens all night. By 6 in the morning, the fire department was coming over the bridge with their trucks. So someone after the storm got hurt.
Yeah,
and they had to drive up on the sand dune. Luckily, it was dry enough they could get through. But as soon as it started, that top layer started drying out. It was like quicksand.
So I do want to answer one of the questions from somebody on the Facebook. They ask how Margaritaville is, and I think Tom and Mary should just get in their boat and go away for like a long time away from this hell that they seem like they can't unwind themselves from the lawsuits to the delays to the COVID to the first storm. And now this storm comes through and it just seems like the entire beach is in their pool. The pool was
must have been 100 people there when on the way here today shoveling that pool.
The other thing, too, is I went in la-di-da. License to Chill is open, by the way. It's open to the public. The upstairs is open. The restaurant, the bar is open. And they had the garage doors down at la-di-da. And so you would think the garage doors blocked the sand.
Right.
Well, the sand was coming through so strong, it got through the slats of the garage, and there was 3 feet of sand in the bar, inside the bar at Lottie Da. So the first morning they were trying to get the sand out of the bar so they can get open. And now, I mean, it looked like the entire beach was on the pavers.
It turns to concrete. It is.
Oh my God, you're not kidding.
This happened before Ian. It was before Irma and before Ian. Friends of ours, Heidi and Bruiser, used to manage the Surfing Us, which is right at the end of Hibiscus. That's open right there now. There used to be an Andrew Lloyd Wright style home or like a that they managed, and it was really cool because it's where it's at on the island. The underneath part, there was a unit on each side, and then there was a large unit up top, and then it was open underneath, kind of like a drive-through. And the wind would come through there, and they used to have an octagon-style bar there for their guests. And the wind would come through there. It didn't matter how hot a day it was. You were in the shade, and that wind came through, and it was kind of like Cabanas was before the storm. You always had that breeze. It was a great place. Well, then there was that little tsunami that hit down in Naples that brought in that big tidal wave. They had guests staying downstairs in their unit, and they said they watched the entire wave come, and it crashed into the middle of their window, and it took that heavy octagon bar, and it ended up halfway down Estero Boulevard. So we went out there. It was in 2018. So it was right after, it was just before, it was right around the Irma time. But anyway, so they call us up, can you come and help us? And that's the first time I got to witness that hard, compact sand.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was only about a foot and a half from that tsunami that came in. Just that little area took 5 of us the entire day to chip away with hose and shovels to clean it up, to get it back to the beach. Because it had dried out, and it was literally like concrete. And you worked. So now imagine 3 feet. Inside that.
You got to chop at it before you shovel it out.
Even the big excavators, they could get going, and their tires would just start spinning. You couldn't get a full bucket at a time because you just don't have enough power to move.
Or that would tip it right.
Well, not the big ones, it wouldn't, but the tires would start spinning.
Just to let our audience know at home, we're up to 107,746 since the show started. It was at 722 since the show started. So it must be you, man. You're adding followers to our show. We're going to hit 8. We might hit 108.
We're going to have to give you some coffee.
No, it's all about the storms.
No offense, Ed, but I'll be perfectly fine with you staying at 107.
I know, right? Forever.
Never seeing.
One of the things I noticed with the TV stations is the TV stations must be allergic to the south end of Fort Myers Beach because they only go to Diamond Head. Like most of the time, they're only here in Times Square because that's where all the action is. But they don't go past Diamond Head. Well, they must have got a free room at Diamond Head. That's why they were down there to check out the storm surge.
Speaking of the south end, we dodged a huge bullet at Santini.
Yeah.
Yes.
Poor Anita, she was
worried.
And I went down there, but I couldn't see because she decides to block her window so nobody can see in. So I couldn't really tell if there was any water in there. But the other units you could see it. And before I had a chance to message her, she had already said we didn't have any water.
Thank
so we're
God.
thankful.
Thank God.
Thank God for that.
Well, I was trying to keep track of that the early morning or the early morning after the storm. And I texted Yariv, the owner of Santini Plaza. I said, did you guys get any water? Because we're worried about Anita and Annette. They're right next to each other in the back end of Santini, and he didn't know, so he was going to send somebody, and Anita didn't know. She got a little water in her house, which she's already had a nightmare with the house.
Right.
So I drive down there on the bike, and I'm looking in, and Annette's windows are not covered like Anita's. So you look at, she had boxes right by the window, and that boxes of books, and then they weren't wet.
Yeah.
So awesome. She was watching. She had no idea whether or not the book nook was going to be filled with water. So she got to see that it wasn't. And if hers wasn't, you could see that. And Anita's right next door wasn't. So that's good. Did they open?
No. There was. She wanted to open on the 28th, but it for other reasons.
Sure.
A lot going on, obviously.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. A lot of things had to be canceled, and
which there's still. I don't know if I should do this or not do this, but
breaking news.
Not breaking news, but we're Santini Plaza is a thing that's crucial to the island, right? It's something that we need some businesses to get in there to be able to open up, and as the condos are coming back online this season, they're going to want things to do, and we want to have people down there. We've had some people that have been interested in opening up a restaurant or opening up a sports bar or something down there, but for one reason or another they couldn't do it. So there's still some spaces down there, and I'm not trying to advocate for Yariv and that. I'm just trying to advocate for that's a very important part of the island that if you're looking at creating a sports bar or something down there,
Yeah, what do you think?
you were going to have, very good success.
We could do like a Giants themed. Never mind, that would probably fail.
That's a dumb idea.
I have to give a shout out to the ladies.
Where's Peter? They're really good.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Where's Peter?
At 7-Eleven on the south end. They were open. They stayed open as long as possible before they had to abandon ship, and so they stayed open, and they're open today. CVS is open. Publix is open, and the Island Pancake House, once again, how many times can you get kicked in the teeth? They got open, and they came down the day after the storm to open up. They didn't get any water in, and they lost power. So they lost a whole day's worth of business, but they're open today.
That's what was wicked about this storm. At our house, we never lost power. We had blips. Obviously, we went out and came right back on. And a majority of the island, I would say, didn't lose power other than
certain spots.
Even though the storm was the second biggest surge, I think I've heard. I hear the meteorologists say to not lose power. That just shows you how every storm is so much different.
It is.
Where at Ian, you lost power almost instantly. Irma, you lost power almost instantly. But the devastation from Irma wasn't nearly what this was. Right. So every storm is so wickedly different that it.
Well, and I think you can't overly rely on the meteorologists. Can only do what they can do. I think, again, you have to make your own decision about what your plan is for every storm, whether you're going to ride one out, not ride one out,
that was the thing
if you're
that
going to go, but you can't be like, well, they said it's going to be a 3 and then it's a 4.
Don't rely on what they said.
I mean, they're doing the best they can.
Most irritating after Ian was that there were people complaining that the county didn't tell us to leave early enough or didn't tell us to leave. And I'm like, does the government need to tell you to do anything? You just put your ass in a car and drive away. Nobody needs to tell you to do that. If you're worried about it in the least, go to safety.
If you go back to when Irma was coming, Irma was supposed to be Ian. We all know that, right?
Right.
And people got out of Dodge. I mean, you couldn't get a hotel room until Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they were running out of gas on I-75, and it was a whole mess because people were trying to get out of Dodge. And then obviously Irma wasn't nearly as bad because it turned and went up the middle of the state. So it didn't have the devastation that Ian did. So when we got to Ian, people were like, they said that for Irma, and I'm not going to go anywhere. And then once it's too late, it's too late. And I was talking to Anita via text, I think it was Thursday night, and she's like, people are scared. And I didn't really think about it but it makes sense. When you start seeing, if you've ever been through a storm, and you start seeing that water come in the doorway,
never know what it's going to
it's too late to do anything.
Right.
And the first thing that goes through your mind is, damn, we should have left.
Yeah.
And then it keeps coming, and then it keeps coming. You're like, is it ever going to stop? Ian felt like it never was going to stop. Irma, starts getting it 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot. You're like, is it ever going to, know? So you start having that flashback. And for me, the flashback was the minute you could see what Times Square looked like. It looked exactly like it did after Ian, minus all the buildings that were piled up.
Right. Yeah.
But the sand, it looked like you couldn't tell where the beach ended. You couldn't tell where it started. To me, that was when I was like, wow, this is eerily similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and to your point of, making a decision to go or not go at the lunch yesterday, which I know you weren't able to be there, but
sorry about that.
No. I mean, you were a little busy. But Susan got up and gave her story, and it was very, very compelling about, she still has, it's very difficult for her to talk about. So I was really glad that she got up for herself and just shared how they stayed and then they tried to leave, and then they realized that the water was coming over there. They don't have a baby truck. They have a big truck, and they were in their truck with life jackets on. And they realized that they were not going to go out. They couldn't leave. It was too late. So they went back to their house, and their house is on stilts. And it still was so terrifying, and so. Yeah,
there's too many stories like that, unfortunately.
Yeah. And something happened on the island last week that we don't talk about, but we don't report on.
But the trauma of going through these things is real.
And asked us if there's a way to do something about mental health and things like that. And that's so outside of my understanding of what to do or stuff like that. But it's a real thing for a lot of people.
We've had a couple of,
on the island.
after Ian, we had a couple groups come on. I think one of them was the Faith Center and another one. And that might be a good thing to do again, to just remind people what is available if they're struggling, you know, emotionally.
Megan, in all seriousness, Megan and I, after the Revive the Vibe thing, we had brought Axel here.
Yeah.
And he is such a calm dog. He looks menacing, but he's just a little big baby. And to see people's faces after they like emotional
dogs
support
help.
dogs,
Yeah.
just they pet them and then they're like, oh yeah, and then they sit on the ground. And you get 60-year-old people laying on the ground playing kissy face with a dog. It's like they forget about everything and then they move on. But you know, there's all kinds of different ways to deal with things, and everybody has different ways of dealing in time frames. You know, for me, I have to stay busy. If I stay busy and I'm constantly moving, I don't think about it. But when you have time to stop and think, that's when you're like, oh, and then you start seeing all the things and you really.
I don't want to put her on.
Well, and that's why they call it post-traumatic.
Thank you.
It can be really. You're welcome.
For dumbing it down for me.
Well, I have to account for you. So, but
how many years has it been
how many
having to do
posts?
that? You've got
30 coming up on 30 years.
30. Good
and
Lord.
she's decided she's going to go to Africa for my birthday just to get as far away from me as she can.
I'm not going on our anniversary. That would have really been rude.
Oh, here's just a little sidebar here. She wants us to get remarried 30 years on the beach. Yeah. Where did you say, in Times Square?
No.
Oh, where did you say? Somewhere on
somewhere.
the beach.
We gotta ask somebody if we can use the front of
that's right.
beach
That's right. Yeah,
property.
That's right. That's who you brought up
we
last
need
night.
Somebody who lives on a stero.
Dad can officiate it. Have you done weddings before?
I did one. Yeah, I did one for someone that came down and asked me in Minnesota, from Minnesota, to do one.
Speaking about the PTSD, and I'm not saying
I forgot all about that till he started on that.
Sounds to me like he just got it.
Oh yeah,
I did. So
he heard remarriage and PTSD.
But we're pointing at Debbie, not for that. But she was telling us before the show that today or yesterday, Saturday, 2 years was really the first time she went back and looked at some of the pictures from her old house.
Yeah.
I mean, so everybody deals with it in different ways. I mean, I made an effort not to post any of those pictures from 2 years ago anymore. Enough is enough already. I mean, now the pictures of the new houses being built and things like that are more important. So,
you know, I want to take a minute to thank, you know, we told people to get your stuff out of here if you could get it out of here. We knew we were going to have a storm surge. We weren't exactly sure how bad it was going to be, but we do know from unfortunate past experiences that when that storm hits the Gulf of Mexico, it can tick right, it can tick left. You know, we were worried before it actually became a hurricane. We were worried, you know, if this is too eerily similar that it can start to go to the east. And then we woke up in the morning and it had moved a little bit to the west. But then you saw as it got to Tampa, if you look at the track now, it started ticking east again. Yeah. And it's just a reminder that you could say 3 to 5, or you could say 2 to 5, or 3 to 6, but it can quickly go from 3 to 6 to you better have a kayak and some life-saving skills, because
it's like an exponential thing. It's not a one-to-one thing.
Everybody, Seagate, they took their big trailer out of here. Sheriff, I mean, people got their big trailers out of here, which is good. We still have
with their baby trucks.
Not with their baby. Well, even the big truck that Seagate got hung up on the.
We
happened to be in traffic as the truck got stuck in the sand trying to get it off. But I think this was an exercise in why we're at the point where we need to get these off the island, because it's as much as we want to say we can do it in 4 hours, we can do it in 6 hours, we can do it 8 hours. You can't do it in 30 minutes.
Right.
And no matter what, you can't do it in 30 minutes. So all it takes is and I just want to use Seagate because I saw that personally going on. When you got a big heavy duty truck that gets stuck in the sand, now you've got 2 projectiles stuck there. Luckily they had enough equipment there. They were able to get it out, but that still took 6-8 hours to get that out. So, you know, unless you can get it out of here in 30 minutes.
And I just want to say thank you to Audrey and Matt Hauser. They just bought us 100 coffees. So, I mean, that really helps out the show when you do stuff like that.
Are they a new follower? Or are they?
I don't think they are. I think they're longtime followers. A lot of our followers came after the storm, last storm, not this. Well, we did get a lot after the last storm, but Ian, did you get a call from FEMA and anybody from FEMA say, I told you, get that stuff off the island?
No, we haven't. I have. Andy may have heard from FEMA. Okay. I have not heard from FEMA directly, but you know, FEMA is going to be FEMA. We're going to do what we have to do. I strongly urge FEMA to, you know, we understand your message, but we have a lot of people here. I just spoke to a gentleman that came up and handed me a handwritten note that I'll give to Senator Scott later, asking about when we're going to make this, when are they going to vote on making this a disaster to help out the people that are needing the insurance money, which is a valid question. We still have a lot of people that aren't getting their insurance proceeds that they duly need. FEMA, it's been 2 years after the storm. People still aren't getting their money from FEMA.
It's ridiculous.
So, as much as I respect them pointing the finger at us and saying, you need to do things, I'm going to point it right back at them and tell them, you know what? You need to do things.
Thank you.
You have a job to do, just like we have a job to do. So if you're going to ask us to do our job, do your job and get the people who have rightly paid into your system for a long time, who are still waiting 2 years after the storm, get them their money.
And now this.
Thank
and
you.
now this happens.
So I love sharing
gotta
this
steal this
information.
back
This
from
is
you.
from Marcel at the Diamond Head. They're opening up the pool for free to the public
nice,
today, and they
nice.
have free parking. So if you need to cool off, it's like
I'm
112 degrees.
Run on down there.
You can go to the pool for free.
Marcel,
and-
he's one of the hardest working
Oh,
guys.
Oh
in
man.
my
town. He was one of the
So
first people
nice.
I met when I moved down here. He and I used to be dart partners quite often at the Shamrock. And that dude's don't play darts against him. He's wicked good.
He's a
good.
quiet killer.
He is wicked good. He's wicked good. You don't work in that industry for a long time and not get good at pool and darts.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, they put the vegetation on the berm, and I was amazed to hear that their pool opened so fast.
Yeah. So the other thing is at 1:30 today, Senator Scott and my friend Carmine are having a press conference. Is anyone else coming that you know of?
I have not heard. All I
So
know
does
is
that mean you're not coming to the football game that you reserved a seat for?
I will be there? That's 3-hour game, Ed.
It is your team. Did you tell Senator Scott you already had
I could not look at my residents that voted for me in the eye if an acting senator said, I'm coming to town, and I told him I'm going to go drink beer and watch football.
I think he would think you are a regular person that fits into the community. Why don't Senator Scott and Carmine come down to Nervous Nellies? Huh?
Maybe they will.
Hold their press conference out
Maybe
with
they
the
will.
water in the background. I mean, it'd be much better than the pond.
Bayside Park
They're
is
both
a great
very
spot.
spontaneous guys. And
Bring them
you never
down,
know.
man. You should
Never know.
invite them down to the game. First beer is on me for Senator Scott.
I don't even
Well,
know if he. I don't even know if he drinks.
It is an election year, everybody. So my guess is this is a photo op for Senator Scott,
You
who
know,
we
you-
love, by the way. We
Well,
do want him to
you-
be elected.
You know, you say that, but you know who I Senator Scott called me personally after the storm.
Yeah.
Which he the follow through with that gentleman, whether you love him or you hate him, this is not a political thing to me. It's he does the right thing. When you meet with him up in DC, he sends you a handwritten letter that he signs and writes himself. It was nice meeting you. Glad we were able to talk about this. And then to just call you out of the blue and say, is there anything you need? Can we help? That shows leadership. That shows.
No,
a
I
public
totally
servant.
am with you. I think Senator Scott's great for
Yeah.
Florida. He's great for the residents of Fort Myers Beach and Lee County, and he should have just scheduled it before or after the football game. That's all I'm saying. I mean, this football,
Well, yeah,
you should have let him know. The football party's been planned for weeks.
I don't know
Give me a
me
break.
saying, I'm a Viking fan and this is like the biggest game
No
of the
kidding.
year playing the Packers. This is a big game. Can we move this to like 4:30 or
Yeah.
maybe move it?
I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure that'd have gone over well.
I'll let the people know up there. I'll let my people know up there that you'll be coming along. Since
I'll be
you know,
by
these are the kinds of
afterwards.
things though that could go on for hours with the
You
way
never
these
know. Hey,
politicians talk.
Carmine, you never know with Carmine.
He doesn't say that
he's
much.
but you see him pushing a squeegee. Then did you see they open the door to the ice cream and he's just like every single person that likes ice cream. I don't even know if he likes ice cream.
Where was this?
When they opened the door to the ice cream shop, it was like we were all like kids, like ice cream.
Were they open?
I don't know. I didn't go in. He went in.
I
and,
see.
And he was.
Did you guys have any?
I don't know. I wasn't inside. I was out
Yeah.
talking with other
No,
people.
we love when he comes down here.
But who knows?
And-
Maybe he'll come down and say hi. Maybe we'll walk him down here and say hi. You
Yeah.
never know. He's willing to meet and talk to anyone.
Yes. And he's up for election this year too, but it's a landslide. The other guy is a write-in candidate. So his name isn't even on the ballot. You have to actually write his name in if you're, and not that he's going to get any votes, but no, I think people in Lee County feel safe. I think people in Lee County like to see those pajama guys cleaning up the sidewalks with those old school
The black
prison
and white
outfits
stripe.
on.
Mhm.
And I forgot what else I was going to say, but
That was a shocker.
yeah. And I want to thank everybody that came out to the Pink Shell yesterday for the 2-year
Mhm.
anniversary free lunch. Thank everybody that donated. Bill Wachulis put on a great menu for everybody.
I'm
and
telling you that. Yeah, the
Yeah.
food was
Was it
amazing.
good? What'd you have?
Well, it was like a surf and turf thing. So you had shrimp on top of what kind of steak was that? A fillet?
Oh,
Now
nice.
I don't eat
I
meat.
saw
He
Counselor
ate it,
King in the
but
picture.
Yes.
yes. But the
took a nice
salad
big
was
picture.
everything. This from soup to nuts was really good. The desserts, I would have liked to have grabbed a second one because those were really good.
And
Yes,
it was nice
thank
to see
you.
Betty Simpson came
Yeah, I
up.
saw
It's
her in the
always
picture
great to
too.
see her.
She's
and
such a sweet lady.
well, we know some people couldn't make it because of all the rigmarole of the storm, and they were cleaning their house or they couldn't get to town, and so we totally
And
understand.
no worries. People
Yeah.
texted me, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I made a
yeah.
reservation. I'm like, listen, you got your hands full. Don't worry about
Yeah, nobody
it.
expected to be dealing with Helene.
By the way, the town council gets back to meeting. Is it this week or next week?
October 7th.
Is it? Oh, that's right, because October doesn't start till the end of the week. Gotcha. So that's a week from Monday.
Well, it is today, the 29th. It starts
week
Tuesday,
from-
is October 1st.
Yeah, so a week from Monday. And so then the LPA will get back together. And let's not forget that, there was a storm, but there's also going to be a lot of projects that come up. Big projects are all going to come up before the end of the year.
There's a lot. They're going to have some pretty heavy agendas coming up. In
Long meetings.
Yeah, there'll be some long meetings, but that just means that we're progressing.
Yeah.
And I want to take a quick second to thank our staff for the storm, their work. What people don't know is Andy's place flooded too. So as he's there trying to be the maestro of the show, if you will, if he's trying to run the town, his place was flooded. So he had to, in between not being able to sleep and not being able to go back to his house and see what stuff was safe and what stuff wasn't.
Yeah.
He finally was able to get some well-deserved sleep the other night, and I tried my best to not bother him.
Were you
as much as I
successful?
could. I was. After, once it got to the point where you knew it was dark on Thursday and you couldn't,
It is right.
they stayed out, but then on Friday he was able to finally get some sleep.
And on Friday, I just want to say the same thing about your staff. When I was walking around early on Friday, the first two people I saw were Jeff Hauge.
Yep.
Is he the public works director?
He
is that
is,
his new title?
Yeah.
And also the harbor master.
Yep.
The two of them were out
Yep.
there with their boots on, and they
Yeah.
had shovels, and they were working in Times Square. And then, I saw everybody with the public works.
Everybody was out. Those guys were together, and they were driving up and down the island.
Yep.
If there's debris that they could move by themselves, they would move.
Mhm.
Signs tipped over, tip the signs back up. Then you drive to the other end of the island. You come back, the signs would be tipped over
Yeah.
again. You stand them back up. So it was a long night, Thursday night, and even Friday. But they got through it, and it was not ideal conditions out there to be
No.
working
Nope.
either. But everybody, everybody that came to the island, all the people that were working on the island, for the most part, everybody was pretty patient. They understood that there's work that's got to be done. We had a couple people that complained that, they had to sit in traffic, but for the most part, people understood. And that's all you can do when you got
Right.
stuff like this that you're dealing with is
Yeah.
realize it's, you're not going to just be able to run somewhere in 10 minutes and get back. It's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
take you a little bit of time.
And there is an election coming up, folks, for town council, not only for president, but for town council. There's 4 candidates. There's 3 seats. And the next debate is October the 11th, Friday at Fresh Catch. And that'll be all 4 candidates will be there for that one. Dan, Jim, Scott, and Greg. And do you guys get to put your signs back out? I know you all went out and took your
Pulled them
signs up so they weren't flying debris. I don't think you
we
need to.
could. I guess I'll put it out there. I'm completely comfortable with not putting any signs back out. It's there's so many other things that we're worried about. Everybody, for the most part, knows who we all
Yes,
are.
I agree with that 100%. And I was saying
Well,
that.
no one cares what you
I know.
think.
Well, that's right. Nobody cares, I think. But I saw, like I was at Santini Plaza, I saw all 4 signs in a row. I'm like, this is silly. Nobody stands out
Yeah.
or anything, but I guess you got to be
Well,
there
it-
if the other
it takes
3
a-
are there.
It takes a lot of time to get
Yeah.
out there and try to put those signs in and then try to get it back out. And I'm sure we all missed a couple signs here or there because you just
Don't
ran out of
remember.
time.
Right.
But we try to get as many of them out as we could. So it's up to the other guys, but I'm completely okay with not putting any
I don't
signs
think
out
you need
anymore.
to.
Well,
I mean, if you don't know
it's-
who these 4 people are by now, I mean, you're not paying attention to anything. I mean,
well, we're gonna have a good, we got Estero Boulevard cleaned up, but we haven't got all the beach axes still have 2 and 3 feet of sand in them.
Yeah.
So we're going to be dealing with heavy equipment for the next
Right.
2-3 weeks cleaning this stuff out
Yeah.
because that's our responsibility. Estero Boulevard, we were very fortunate that the county sent us down 2 really good crews that worked very efficiently.
so now
along with our people.
we got 2 out of 4. That's Greg is watching. He says, if they're going to be in the way, I will agree with Dan not to put them back out, whatever is best for the island. So that's 2
Yeah,
out of the 4.
so we'll see what the other guys.
And then you
say,
don't need to spend that money either. You can decide to give the money to charity, or you can decide to do whatever, give the money back to the voters.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, if you have money left over, it has to go
Right.
to 501c3. So there will be money coming back. I know for my campaign, there'll be money coming back to the town in the 501c3s. So
Now, speaking of that,
it's going to waste.
Speaking of that, I did want to ask you, or maybe Megan knows. I know that on the women's club property was a shed that had a bunch of your supplies and materials in there. Did it all get ruined? For the water in the shed. Okay. All right. So,
But there's a lot of cleanup with vegetation around. They got a
see.
dumpster delivered,
Okay.
and
did we miss anything today?
probably.
Yeah. You say that at the end of every show. You're all dressed up.
Probably.
You got some muckety mucks
I
to
don't
see
know
at
that I'm
1:30?
dressed up. I'm just. It's too hot to wear a hat. That's why you're sweating.
I'm sweating like a pig today.
I know. You need.
I was
you need a
picking
Megan
on you the
fan.
whole time.
That's
I do, Megan. How dare you only buy a fan for my wife?
Do you want to borrow this?
It's all right. When she goes to
No.
Africa, I'm stealing
No,
that
we-
fan.
Senator Scott and Carmine?
we have
Yeah, right.
we're on a first name basis with Amazon drivers, so no, I
Nice.
think we're good. I don't need to.
Yeah.
I know. After the storm, I'll never forget that.
3 out
when
of 4.
When
You got-
Here
people,
comes some more work.
yeah.
3 out of 4. Jim Adderholt said he agrees. So we'll just see what Scott. If Scott's signs are the only ones out there, he didn't agree.
Well, or he didn't watch the show.
All right. Oh, I don't think he watches the show, but he doesn't need to go out and buy new signs. You couldn't read his name anyway. His signs were the smallest, where like you had to squint as you went down there. Is that FPL?
No.
I
I'm
see.
not sure who it is.
Part of the
They might be a
part of what
contractor
the
of
storm did on the island, it seems like everybody is out of they don't have cable. Like there's no cable here.
That
we
could
had
be,
to
yeah.
there's no internet. I had to use my phone for the show. Usually I tap into this, so some of the internet and cable are still out. And
Well,
but that's minor thing.
we were fortunate. I'm going to try to reach out to JJ and Jacinta from Margaritas. They were really good after Adalia about putting together something. We went with them and took some trucks up.
Yep, I know
to
they were
help people
planning
up
it.
there. So if they're listening, get a hold of me or I'll get a hold of you. Let's see if we can do that
They
again.
have an Amazon list already
Yeah.
going.
I would love to be able to get a bunch of trucks and caravan up there and show them the support they gave us
Yes.
Right.
after Ian. So if maybe Ed, you could jump
I can.
in and help with that. Let's get. I'd love to see 10 trucks. Let's get
Yeah.
10
They
U-Haul
got
trucks
hammered
full
up
of
there.
stuff and bring it up to the people that need it.
That they got hammered up
Thank
there,
you.
and the downside is what they're going through.
Oh yeah, you do, and it's you see some of the pictures and some of the video. Tampa got pretty hammered
Yep.
with the flood, and you see some of the stuff on St. Pete Beach, and it brings back a lot of memories. They took a lot of flooding. It doesn't, at least from the pictures I've seen, doesn't look like the buildings completely got wiped off the planet, but
No.
they lost everything inside, just like everyone else.
We
But
we saw
it's-
some video, like some drone video from around Perry,
Yeah,
Florida.
Perry
and
got hit
that-
pretty
they
hard,
Got
yeah.
they
Perry,
had some
Cedar Key,
stuff
all that
ripped
kind
off.
of stuff, and
yeah.
it's sad because even Ave Maria, I haven't seen it, but Megan was telling me about Ave Maria Island got hit pretty hard as well.
Yep. I heard
And they
about
were,
that too.
they were the ones that were supposed to get hit with Ian, where we took it, and now they're taking a little bit more. So we
Yep.
completely understand what they're going through, and it's sad because you're starting to see a lot of that old Florida get wiped off.
Yep.
Which it's sad, but 50 years, 60 years from now,
Be
what's
stronger,
here,
built
people are going
harder.
to call this old Florida,
Right.
right? So it's an evolution. It's an unfortunate thing, but we certainly understand what they're dealing with up there, and we'll send as much help as we can.
All right. So thank you for coming. And if you do me a favor and get Senator Scott's autograph for me while you're down there today, or make sure, Dan, make sure somebody takes a picture with you standing with Senator Scott. You suck at taking pictures. You never take pictures when you're
Well,
supposed to
he's
take
got to
pictures.
be in them.
Come on.
I know. I get yelled at that.
I guess
about
that
it.
falls to you.
I get yelled at a lot. I don't do that. It's just not my thing.
Yeah. Well, you're running for election,
I know,
Dingleberry.
I know. But,
Come on.
If a picture is what gets you elected, then we got bigger
Oh,
issues.
come on. Stop. You got to have some kind of PR, even though, you're going to
it's
get
part,
the most
it's part
votes.
of the deal. But
All right. Get out of here.
All
Thank
right,
you for the
thank
big
you.
hand for the mayor of Fort Myers Beach, everybody. Dan Allers. All right, dear, before we go, all right, I want to read about our sponsors, and then we're going to save your important information to the end because we know how important your information is. 2 sponsors for today's show. Please listen along because you may need them. I know we need Tom to come to our house. Tom is usually here sitting in the front row with his wife, and they are not here today. So Tom runs Eagle Eye Aluminum, specializing in seamless gutters as well as aluminum and vinyl soffits, fascia repairs, or full replacement. I know the Hodkas know Tom Coleman because Tom was at their house and doing repairs over there or doing some work over there. And he also repairs pool cages. And because my wife forgot to take the canopy down in our backyard before the storm, it blew through the pool cage. So now we have to have Tom come out and repair the pool cage. So I told her I had to go to Margaritaville for the week. And so she needed to take care of the house. But give Tom Coleman a call at 239-340-1639. That's 239-340-1639. And Tom will be right out to, he's very nice. He's not creepy or anything like that. So he's okay to come to your house and meet up with you and give you an estimate. And I, of course, want to remind you that the Islands Pancake House is open for business. They open at 7:30 in the morning, and they have, in addition to great food, they have a full liquor license. So for those of you that like to swig whiskey while you eat pancakes, where else are you going to find that in Southwest Florida? Well, at the Island Pancake House. You want to go see Brian and Stacy? Right in the Seagrave Plaza. They have power. They're up and operating, and they open at 7:30 in the morning. They plan to close at 2 unless you want to sit around and have a drink or two at the Island Pancake House. You can give them a call if you want, 320-360-3826, or you can just go down to the Island Pancake House and order. And make sure you tell them that you heard it here. They stayed open as long as they could on storm day, which is Thursday. Then they came back after the storm to try and open, but they lost power. But the power is back up and operating, so go give them a visit. And I want to thank Lana and Paul, who just bought us 5 coffees to support the show. Alan Lindbergh bought us 5 coffees to support the show, and so did Samantha Cerace. She bought us a coffee. So thank you all for supporting the show. We realized yesterday that the video content is the key. The video. More
Only
videos.
the video you do, right?
I don't know what you were doing. You were taking some video of something on the road. What was it?
He was so mean to me yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Just yesterday?
I know everybody
narrowing it
thinks
down.
I'm so mean to him, but he was
are
really,
mean
you
to
were
me.
rude to me yesterday.
Well, I was
so-
trying to focus on not crashing the baby
Please.
truck in all the sand dunes.
Yeah.
Holy crap, you guys. I washed the truck last night. That stuff is like cement. It's
Yeah,
like washing
no kidding.
cement off the truck. So it was nice and clean until today. So,
So
go
two
ahead.
things.
2 things. Then we got
When
to
he
go.
was talking about going up, and helping the people up north, someone did reach out to me. I'm going to follow up on it, hopefully today after the show, that there's a woman, I don't know how old she is, on the beach that needs some help cleaning up her house. Might need some cleaning supplies, might need some help, but I don't know all the details, and I don't want to start sending random people down to her house. I do have her name, so I'm going to go check it out, see what she needs.
You don't know what road it's on or anything?
I do, but I don't want.
Well, so people know
People
how far they
start-
might have to go.
Well, I'd
Don't
have
say
to
the
look.
address. Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the road, but the information I got was yesterday, so I'm going to firm that up because I think this came up because when I was down here Friday, I was looking for some people to help, and it is hard when something like this happens to kind of have a network of who needs help, who can go help here. So I'm going to try and coordinate something at some point.
Okay.
And
What do you got here?
and then the other day, so come on over, Norma. Norma flew down
Come on.
from
Oh, okay. I remember this now.
Pennsylvania.
Come on, Norma. Come
Come on,
on.
you got to come over.
You got to promote your business.
She
Come on.
said it's not hers, it's her daughter's.
All right.
But she said, how about, would you like some macaroons? And I'm like, well, I'm never one to not
Have a seat.
take cookies.
Wow.
So
What is this?
these are macaroons. Woo, don't mess it up.
Tell us about where they're from.
So Norma's daughter, go ahead. Tell me the story about how she started and while I start chowing down.
Back during COVID.
Oh, you got to keep that up
Okay.
real close.
Back during COVID, she's out of boredom. She started making them. She is a baker, self-taught, but she started making these and selling them for porch pickup. She opened up her first store. I think it was July 6th.
You got to try it.
And she sells out every weekend.
Try it.
She makes anywhere from 800 to 1,200 of these cookies and sells out every weekend.
I have to tell you, macaroons I've had in the past, I was like, that's not my thing. Oh my goodness, these are so good. Which one is this?
I believe that one is the mocha latte.
I would like
Or it
everybody
might
to
be
come
the-
up and try one, please.
Yes.
Come on up and try a macaroon.
And
What else
she
you got
ships
there?
them and say,
No, not yet. We haven't figured a way of shipping them.
That would be
So-
hard to ship.
So
What do you got there?
They have to. There are a couple more.
Okay, gotcha. One broke.
oh my God, you
Yeah.
guys, these are so good.
Come on up and have one, everybody. We love to share.
So it's called Something Sweet.
Yeah, I'll put that on the Facebook page so you guys can see it.
And what's your daughter's name?
Brianna.
Brianna.
Well, thank you.
You might have said that. I was so occupied stuffing my face
Yes,
with these.
please pass it around,
sweet
everybody.
treats.
Have some
She'll be down
macaroons.
here with us for Thanksgiving.
Can you do
So if people make an order, can she just bring them down with her then?
Probably not because they have to stay cold.
And you got them down here on the plane?
You freeze them and then put them in an airtight container. And then I was able to bring them down here. They'll be good for a little while, straight back into the refrigerator.
Can she put Beach Talk Radio on any of them? Is there a way
We'll
to do
send her the logo.
customized macaroons?
I'll ask her.
All right. Well, thank you.
Man.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for bringing these down.
Called Something Sweet, and there's also a QR code on there, so we'll share all that information.
But I have the flavor list. One of them is called Everything But Bagel.
Everything but bagel.
You should take that one.
A chocolate chip muffin. The pink one is strawberry milk. There's a apple crisp, honey nut Cheerio. What am I forgetting?
Well, we'll review them all. Oh, doesn't
Yeah.
have it on there.
It's 12
Okay.
different flavors she does every
sweet.
week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
for
coming
everything.
on. And thank you,
for keeping
Brianna.
us informed.
Thank you. We appreciate you saying
because
that.
It is definitely.
Here. No, we got a whole thing of them.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you
coming
so
on.
much.
Thank you, Norma. Appreciate it. All right, folks. You can go, dear. You're dismissed. Our Packer party, Packer Minnesota Vikings, playing at 1:00. The game is on at Nervous Nelly's, and they got a special menu that I posted on the Facebook page that you can check out. You can support the show at buykimandedcoffee.com. It's a coffee gimmick. It's really money that you're giving us. So just to be upfront, we pocket the money and we pay taxes on it through our accountant, of course. It's not free money, just so everybody knows that. And at 1:30, there's a press conference in Times Square with Senator Rick Scott and Carmine, the Sheriff Marcino, and probably Mayor Allers and some of the other muckety-mucks. It's going to be a muckety-muck Sunday in Times Square. Thank you all for tuning in. The newsletter is back on Tuesday. If you haven't subscribed to our twice weekly newsletter, Tuesday and Friday, you can go on beachtalkradionews.com, and on the top it says newsletter, and you can subscribe to it right there. We've got over 15,000 subscribers to the newsletter. And before we go, let's check in and see how many followers we're up to on Facebook. Not that I'm counting. 107,756. All right, everybody. You have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.